They called it stupid, clumsy, a biological failure destined for extinction. For centuries, the dodo became synonymous with evolutionary dead ends and natural selection's mistakes. Textbooks portrayed it as slow-witted and defenseless, a creature too dumb to survive. But this narrative is completely wrong. The dodo wasn't stupid. It was perfectly adapted. For 4 million years, this magnificent bird thrived in absolute paradise. It evolved into a master of its domain, a testament to successful adaptation. Then everything changed in less than a century. Humans arrived on Mauritius with dogs, rats, and axes. Within decades, the dodo vanished forever. This isn't a story about stupidity. It's a story about paradise betrayed, about evolution's greatest success becoming its most tragic failure. The truth will surprise you. The birth of an island. Our story begins 140 million years ago, deep in Earth's geological past. The supercontinent Gondwana was tearing itself apart. Massive tectonic forces ripped a chunk of land away from Africa's eastern coast. This fragment wouldn't remain intact for long. Over millions of years, the landmass split into two distinct pieces. One became Madagascar, hugging the African coast. The other drifted rapidly northeast toward Asia, eventually becoming the Indian subcontinent. But between these two massive land masses, something remarkable was forming beneath the waves. The Mascarene Plateau emerged as India journeyed toward its collision with Asia. This underwater mountain range stretched across hundreds of kilometers of ocean floor. Volcanic activity pushed some peaks above the water surface. Islands appeared in the middle of nowhere. One of these volcanic islands would eventually be called Mauritius. Initially, it was nothing but barren rock jutting from the Indian Ocean. Waves crashed against lifeless stone. No soil, no plants, no animals, just a lonely volcanic formation surrounded by endless blue water. But nature has a way of transforming desolation into abundance. Ocean currents carried seeds from distant continents. Winds deposited spores and plant material across the rocky shores. Birds flying between Africa and Asia occasionally stopped to rest on this remote outcrop. Slowly, impossibly slowly, life took hold. Mosses and lichens colonized the bare rock. Their decomposition created thin layers of soil. Seeds that washed ashore found purchase in this primitive earth. Plants began growing. Ferns unfurled. Trees took root. Over millions of years, Mauritius transformed into a lush, green paradise. Dense forests covered volcanic slopes. Fruit trees produced abundant crops. The island became a jewel in the Indian Ocean. But one critical element was missing: land animals. The arrival. Islands separated from continents by hundreds of kilometers present a challenge for wildlife colonization. Mammals cannot swim such vast distances through open ocean. Reptiles struggle to survive saltwater journeys. Amphibians find the environment completely inhospitable. Only one group of animals could bridge this gap: birds. 4 million years ago, a flock of pigeons made a journey that would change evolutionary history. These weren't ordinary pigeons. They belonged to an ancient lineage of birds that today includes doves and other columbids. Strong flyers capable of crossing vast oceanic distances. Perhaps a storm blew them off course during migration. Maybe they were simply exploring new territories. Whatever the reason, these pigeons discovered Mauritius, and what they found exceeded any bird's wildest dreams. The island offered unlimited food resources. Fruit trees heavy with ripe offerings. Nuts scattered across the forest floor. Seeds in impossible abundance. No competition from other bird species. And most importantly, no predators. No foxes stalked through the underbrush. No wildcats climbed trees hunting for nests. No snakes slithered through the grass seeking eggs. No mongooses, no weasels, no raptors. The island was utterly safe. These pigeons had stumbled into evolutionary paradise. They stopped migrating. Why leave when everything you need exists right here? The birds settled permanently. They nested, they bred, they thrived. Generation after generation remained on Mauritius. But isolation and abundance have profound effects on evolution. Without predators, without competition, without any reason to remain small and agile, these pigeons began changing. Island gigantism took hold. The transformation. Island gigantism is a well-documented evolutionary phenomenon. When animals colonize predator-free islands with abundant resources, they often grow much larger than their mainland relatives. The pigeons of Mauritius experienced this transformation dramatically. Over millions of years, these birds underwent radical physical changes. Their bodies grew larger and heavier with each passing generation. Small insect-eating ancestors with delicate beaks evolved into massive birds nearly 1 meter tall. Their beaks transformed from slender probes into powerful, claw-like tools. These massive beaks served a specific purpose in their fruit-rich environment. They could crack open tough nuts that smaller birds couldn't access. They could tear into large fruits efficiently. The dodo, as it would eventually be called, became perfectly adapted to its abundant paradise. The bird grew so large it became the second largest animal on Mauritius. Only the giant tortoise exceeded it in size. But this growth came with consequences. Heavier bodies required more energy to maintain flight, and flight served no purpose in this predator-free paradise. Why waste energy flying when food covers the ground beneath you? Why maintain expensive flight muscles when nothing hunts you? Why keep wings when walking is sufficient? Natural selection favored birds that invested less energy in flight capability. Generation by generation, wings shrank, flight muscles atrophied, bones became denser and heavier. Eventually, the dodo lost the ability to fly entirely. It became completely terrestrial. It walked everywhere. It nested on the ground. It was totally vulnerable to any land predator. But there were no land predators. This wasn't a design flaw. This was perfect adaptation. For 4 million years, the dodo's flightlessness posed absolutely no problem. It was an evolutionary success story, not a failure. Even more significantly, the dodo's behavior transformed along with its body. Without predators, fight or flight instincts became unnecessary. Birds that wasted energy being cautious gained no survival advantage. Fearlessness replaced wariness. The paradise. For nearly 4 million years, the dodo lived in absolute harmony with its environment. The forests of Mauritius provided everything these birds needed. Their population remained stable and healthy. They were masters of their domain. The dodo's relationship with Mauritius went beyond simple survival. These birds became keystone species in the forest ecosystem. They consumed massive quantities of fruit and dispersed seeds throughout the island. Some tree species evolved to rely specifically on dodo digestion for seed germination. The birds' daily life followed predictable, peaceful patterns. They foraged for fruit in the morning. They rested during the heat of midday. They socialized with other dodos in the afternoon. They nested on the ground at night, completely unafraid. Mother dodos laid single eggs in simple ground nests. No elaborate construction was necessary. No high tree branches for safety, just a shallow depression in the leaf litter. The eggs incubated peacefully. Chicks hatched and grew without threat. This was evolution working exactly as it should. The dodo wasn't stupid or poorly designed. It was brilliantly adapted to its specific environment. For a million years of successful existence proved this beyond doubt. But evolution has a vulnerability. It cannot anticipate the future. The dodo evolved in isolation from humans and the animals humans bring with them. It had no genetic memory of predators, no instincts for danger, no behavioral templates for escape. When humans finally arrived, the dodo was evolutionarily unprepared. The invasion. The first humans to discover Mauritius were likely Arabian traders navigating the Indian Ocean. They stopped briefly, but established no permanent presence. Portuguese explorers arrived next in the early 1500s. They documented the strange, large birds, but also didn't settle. Then came the Dutch. In 1598, Dutch sailors landed on Mauritius and found an island rich with resources. They named the strange flightless bird Dodo, meaning fat arse in Dutch. The name evolved into Dodo. The bird's fate was sealed. Dutch colonists established permanent settlements by 1638. They brought with them the full package of European civilization: tools and weapons, crops and livestock, and most devastatingly, invasive species. Dogs, cats, rats, pigs, and monkeys accompanied the settlers. These introduced animals found Mauritius to be paradise, just as the dodo's ancestors had millions of years earlier. But unlike the dodo, these animals were predators and competitors. They had evolved in environments full of threats. They possessed all the survival instincts the dodo lacked. Rats discovered ground nests full of unguarded eggs. Easy meals without any parent birds attempting defense. Monkeys raided nests systematically, consuming eggs and vulnerable chicks. Cats hunted young dodos with lethal efficiency. Dogs attacked adult birds. Pigs rooted through the forest floor, destroying nesting sites and competing for fallen fruit. The dodo population faced attacks from multiple directions simultaneously. But predation wasn't the only threat these birds encountered. The destruction. Dutch colonists recognized Mauritius's forests contained valuable hardwood. Ebony trees fetched high prices in European markets. Logging operations began immediately. Axes rang through forests that had stood undisturbed for millions of years. Trees crashed to the ground. Forests were cleared for agriculture and timber export. The dodo's habitat shrank rapidly. Dense forests became open clearings. Fruit trees disappeared. Food sources dwindled. The birds had nowhere to hide from introduced predators. Humans also hunted dodos directly, though probably not as extensively as popular imagination suggests. The meat was reportedly tough and unpleasant. Sailors called them disgusting birds and preferred to hunt other species when possible. But some dodos were killed for food. More significantly, the dodo's fearlessness made hunting absurdly easy. The birds felt no instinct to flee from approaching humans. They could be walked up to and simply clubbed. No chase was necessary. No traps required. Just approach and kill. The combination of habitat destruction, predation, and direct hunting created a perfect extinction storm. The dodo population crashed catastrophically. Within decades of Dutch settlement, these birds became increasingly rare. Sightings grew less frequent each year. The last confirmed dodo sighting occurred in 1662, just 24 years after permanent Dutch settlement. Some researchers suggest small populations might have survived until the early 1700s. But by any estimate, the species vanished within 100 years of human arrival. 4 million years of successful evolution, erased in less than a century. The dodo went from thriving species to complete extinction faster than humans could properly document its existence. Most of what we know comes from fragmentary accounts and a few preserved specimens. The legacy. Today, the dodo exists only in museums and imagination. A few skeletal remains survive in collections worldwide. Some preserved skin and feathers exist. Contemporary drawings provide rough visual records, but no complete specimen was ever preserved intact. The bird became a symbol, though often for the wrong reasons. People remember the dodo as stupid and clumsy. This reputation is completely undeserved. The dodo was actually a remarkable evolutionary success story that ended in tragedy. Modern scientists studying extinction patterns frequently reference the dodo. It represents a crucial lesson about island ecosystems and invasive species. When isolated species encounter sudden environmental changes, adaptation cannot occur fast enough. Extinction becomes inevitable. The dodo also demonstrates the fragility of highly specialized species. Animals perfectly adapted to specific conditions become vulnerable when those conditions change. Generalists survive disruption better than specialists. The dodo was the ultimate specialist. Conservation biologists now recognize that island species require special protection. Islands worldwide harbor unique evolutionary experiments similar to the dodo's story. Many face identical threats from habitat destruction and invasive species. The dodo's extinction taught us to act before it's too late. Some tree species on Mauritius may have depended on the dodo for reproduction. These trees produce seeds with extremely hard coats. Some researchers believe dodo digestion was necessary to scarify these seeds for germination. With the dodo gone, these trees may be slowly dying out. The dodo wasn't stupid. It was successful. For 4 million years, it thrived in paradise. Evolution shaped it into a master of Mauritius. But evolution cannot predict ships carrying rats and axes. Within a single human lifetime, paradise became hell. The dodo's real story isn't about failure. It's about how quickly success can turn to extinction. It's a warning we're still learning to heed. Some lessons come too late.